And we are back at this again. Yes, another list. What would my life be without doing another Doctor Who list? Hello guys, welcome, or if you've already seen my channel before, welcome back. I am the Philadelphia Whovian, and for this video, we're going to be doing a list about a ranking. Yes, I've been doing a series of videos where I'm ranking the episodes and the stories from classic Doctor Who writers. Classic Doctor Who is something I absolutely love, and the writers in that era, not only were they quite unparalleled, but they led the foundations to the show that a lot of people nowadays know and love. Without these guys, we would not really have Doctor Who the way we have it now. And the first time I did a ranking of classic Doctor Who writers, I did Robert Holmes, the genius, the glorious man that was Robert Holmes. And now we're going to be doing another list about another glorious Doctor Who writer, and that would be Malcolm Hulke. Okay, a lot of people, I don't hear people much talk about Malcolm Hulke, and he is a genius of a writer. He is incredible. He was excellent at doing the long, drawn-out stories when it came to classic Doctor Who and keeping a good pace to them. But as it is with so much good writing out there, he's just another guy that got lost in the shuffle. So here's to you, Malcolm. You are impeccably awesome as a writer. And I'm going to let you guys know right now, this is going to be a video just about his stories. Not about Malcolm Hulke the person. I've never even seen an interview of Malcolm Hulke. It's just ranking his talent as a writer. There we got that. And number two, also, when I looked up his filmography, all I saw were 8 stories of his. If I'm wrong and there's more than 8 stories, do not be afraid to correct me down below in the comment section. I will rectify that and do a re-ranking in the comment section. My bad. What can you do? I'm only human sometimes. And when I say sometimes, I mean all the time. Okay, there we go. Also, when it comes to this list, like Robert, Malcolm is such a good writer that it hurts. Like, as a person trying to write for Doctor Who, like Robert, Malcolm just makes me look at him and say, God, Malcolm, you're such a genius, and I hate you. I don't really hate him, but I do envy his skill and talent as a writer. Alright, and also, I'm going to let you guys know, later on I'm going to be doing videos on Terrence Dicks, Terry Nation, maybe Bob Baker and Dave Martin. And if you guys know any other writers in classic Doctor Who who's done 5 stories or more, please let me know so that I can do a video on them too. For example, a really good friend of mine here on YouTube, Cody, he told me about Eric Sayward. And it's like, oh, thank you so much, Cody. Thank you so much for helping me out. You're a gem. Alright, so now without further ado, let's get into this list. And also, I must warn you guys, Malcolm was such a genius of a writer that even my least favorite story of his, which will be at number 8, was still very good. I'm ranking from least favorite to most favorite, but my least favorite is still excellent. It's still very, very good. It's just where it fell because this is Malcolm Hulke we're talking about. What can you do? So starting at number 8, we have Colony in Space, the 3rd Doctor's story along with Joe Grant. Okay, guys, before you get your pitchforks, please remember, it is a good story. I know it is. It just went here because all of Malcolm's stories were very good. Alright, so we see here is Malcolm's ability to tell a 6-part story in very good time and keep the pacing going. We have the 3rd Doctor and Joe Grant and her exposure to traveling in the TARDIS and how it frightens her. And that's a very unique reaction. And Joe Grant, we see her assimilate to this adventure over time and really adjust and really try to adapt to the situation. And that's the great thing about Joe Grant. Unless I'm wrong, guys, correct me down below if I'm wrong, but I think when it comes to Classic Who, she might be one of the longest running companions to the Doctor. I really think her and Jamie travel with the Doctor for some of the longest times of companions in Classic Who. Correct me though if I'm wrong in the comment section. But that allows her to be really developed as a character. And Katie Manning plays her to perfection. John Pertwee is of course wonderful again as the Doctor. And we get the Master in here he's in here in a very good way that really works with the storytelling. And we have the idea of the colonists colonizing this planet, and a corporation comes in and tries to terrorize them to get them to leave this planet or just to almost pretty much wipe them out. And again, very good concept and very good idea. My only nitpick is that the planet that they're on, of course it's an Earth location, but the planet that they are on, there are times when I'm watching it and I'm like, there are areas of this planet that I just would not want to colonize on. That's a super nitpick. That is a super, super nitpick. What can you do? Okay, now. So now we're going down to number 7, and we have the Sea Devils. Okay, guys, with the Sea Devils, I know some people do not like this story because it's just so similar to the Silurians. I get you. I understand you. But I do like this story. That's just where I fell. That's just where I fell, guys. Also, it could easily be nostalgia for me. The Sea Devils, not only was it the first Third Doctor story I ever saw, it was my first exposure to the Third Doctor, but also it was the very second classic Doctor Who story that I ever saw. In the first 2 classic Doctor Who stories I saw had the Sea Devils in it, and this made me love them immediately as villains, or at least antagonists. And I've used them in my Doctor Who fanfiction quite often enough because I love them so very much. They just make very good villains. And this just, again, cemented that. The pacing is wonderful. The epic scope of it is wonderful. It is large. I love how the Sea Devils are realized. There are even sometimes where I'm looking at them and they are a little scary. And the Doctor dealing with the military in this, again, very good. Doctor and Joe, the Third Doctor and Joe, this story sold my love for them immediately. They get on very well. Again, Katie Manning is wonderful. John Pertwee is wonderful. The Master is here in a very good way. Oh, I almost forgot. This was my very first time seeing the Master in classic Doctor Who. Yeah, I never saw the Master in classic Doctor Who until this story. My first exposure to the Master, so it's special for that too. So we have the Sea Devils. Okay, now we have, coming up is, I think we're at number, 5 or 6? It's 6 probably. 6. I'm going to stop counting again and just keep rattling off, because I suck at counting. You guys know this by now. I suck at counting. So, at number 6, I just said I stopped counting, didn't I? Alright, sorry. There we are. So we now have the Faceless Ones. Oh, BBC destroyed this story. It is the Faceless Ones does not get any credit for the genius of a story it is, because it's missing now. We do not have this story anymore. All we have are telesnaps, where you can watch snaps, like, again, images of the episode and get the audio over it. That's all we've got. And of course, a lot of people are not going to go out and watch that, because it's not the easiest thing to sit through when it comes to telesnaps. And this story was, okay, Malcolm was a co-author. He wrote it with David Ellis, I believe. You can correct me below if I'm wrong about that, but I believe it was David Ellis. And so he is the co-writer to this story. And again, it shows his incredible ability at pacing. This story is very enjoyable. There's a very good pace to it. It's action-packed. It feels nice and large. And Ben and Polly, because this story is missing, this will cement what I've said before about Ben and Polly probably always being overlooked companions. Because this is their last story. It's an excellent story. It's an epic story. It's missing. Like many of Ben's, or pretty much almost all of Ben and Polly's stories, is either partially or completely missing. And people therefore don't appreciate or care much about Ben and Polly because they don't see the epic stories that went into their time as companions. Ben and Polly are very well realized here. Of course they are. Jamie is wonderful here. The Second Doctor is as awesome as he always is because he is the Second Doctor. He is awesome. And I've said it before. I'll say it again. Airports make good locations for sci-fi. The Faceless Ones are a very good villain who use airports in a very good way because airports are very good for sci-fi stories. Fun fact, there was even a character in this, the character who was looking for her brother, and had chemistry with Jamie. The actress, okay, Patrick and Frasier, which is the Second Doctor and Jamie, they liked her as an actress, and they even went to the producers and asked her to be their companion for next year because they knew that Polly was leaving, and so was Ben. But she said no because she did not want to be get typecast as being a companion. But look where I don't think she's even that known anymore for anything. So it's like, dude, you really missed out on being a legendary companion. But we got Victoria, so there we go. Sorry, a little bit fun fact there. Okay, so now we have, next up we have Frontier in Space. This is a story that I just don't see much love for at all from almost anyone. There are very few people who love this story. I see a lot of love for Planet of the Daleks. Literally, I see a lot of love for that story, but not the first part of the Dalek War set, which is Frontier in Space. I just don't get why. The Draconians are very well realized aliens, and the Ogrins. Okay, guys, I've said this, and I know I'm strange, but the Ogrins, for me, they're like the Uruk-hai of Doctor Who. And when I say the Uruk-hai are from the super orcs from Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers. Yeah, I just feel like the Ogrins are the Uruk-hai of Doctor Who with how menacing they look. Yes, they're kind of stupid, but they're really well-designed aliens. They really work very well. And the Master is in here in a very good way. I believe this is the story that we see Jo Grant overcome the Master's hypnotic abilities, where she uses nonsense to keep her from being hypnotized, showing how far Jo has grown. The Third Doctor is very good. The President in this, she is very good. And, okay, nowadays we're doing this whole idea of Doctor Who being really pro-feminine and how Classic Who wasn't, or how people are acting like Doctor Who up until this point has not represented women enough. Watch this story. The President is one of the best characters in this story. She is a woman. Stop acting like there were no strong women before Series 11. Doctor Who world was full of strong women. Just FYI, right there. But Frontier in Space also, the plot is very good. It's atmospheric. It's just also good world building, and again, atmospheric in certain areas. Love when the Doctor is floating in space because he's trying to repair the ship. But also the plot, the idea of the Daleks using two planets and making them thinking that they are attacking each other when it's really the Daleks who are orchestrating this entire attack. Very good plot line. Very good idea, but also it shows what I've said before about Daleks. To do a good Dalek story, you should not really look at them as robots, but humans who are mutated in a metal casing. But in essentials, these are still people in there. Vicious, ruthless, purist, puritanical in the sense they are against anything that is impure to them, genocidal, homicidal, pure maniacs, but they are still people. If you look at them as people in metal casing, that broadens your range tremendously of the stories you can write for a Dalek, and that leads to good storytelling, or at least the foundation to what could lead to a good story. So, yes, Frontier in Space. I am one of the happy few who do love that story. And next we have up, I think, the Silurians, another gem from Season 7 of Classic Who. The Silurians, first time we see the Silurians of Classic Who, Malcolm Hulke wrote this story, and by God, again, shows how excellent he is at pacing a long story. He can keep a long story going for a long time and really keep you engaged. Third Doctor is wonderful, and with this one, we got the Brigadier, who is lovely as always. And this one, we really begin to see the Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson side of the Doctor and Brigadier's relationship. There's even a joke made in reference to that. Liz Shaw is wonderful as always. The Silurians are well realized, and it's atmospheric in the caves. But also that scene where the disease, I can't remember who is the character's name, but who accidentally takes the disease the Silurians create and takes it to London, and he is infected, and he is infecting people as he's walking. Oh, I love stuff like that. It's so chilling. It just works very well. But also we get the end of it, where the Brigadier and the Doctor says to the Brigadier, protect those caves. Remember, these are creatures who should be respected. The Brigadier says yes, but he blows them up anyway because he was ordered to. And it was governmental and it was a military decision. And the Doctor is upset about this. He's been betrayed practically. However, the next episode we get of them together, the Doctor and Brigadier are still working together and they are still friends. And I know that of course the Doctor is trapped on Earth, so he's stuck in this situation, but I feel like even then he does not keep holding that against the Brigadier. They go on to have a long relationship together. And I like that. I like how the Doctor is mad, but at the same time, he understands the situation is complicated. And that is that's very strong. It is very strong, and to me stronger than just the Doctor rejecting the Brigadier just after that one instance. That's just me. Okay, so now we have up as number 3, The Ambassadors of Death. Okay, I know this was written by someone else, but actually Malcolm Hulke did uncredited rewrites. So he was technically a co-author to this story. He might as well have been because he did do a lot of rewrites to it. So, co-writer. And Ambassadors of Death, by God. It's a perfect story. It's another 7-parter that just is perfectly acted, perfectly directed, perfectly written. And I know some people have a problem with the ending because it's anticlimactic, but honestly, after all the situations and stuff that we have been going through and been building up to, of course the ending was going to be anticlimactic. With all of that action going on, it was going to end the way it ended. But the Doctor, again, wonderful. Liz Shaw, absolutely wonderful. The Brigadier, you really feel bad for him because everything is falling apart around him. He's doing his best to keep things under wraps and order, but of course he can't. He's out of his depth here. And it's just so good. And the ambassadors, like the creatures who kill you with radiation, the aliens, they are chilling. They are haunting. Whoa! It's just, well, it's pretty much a perfect story to me. It is. That's all I gotta say. It's a perfect story. And now we got another thinking, well, what could be perfect than that? That's just, these last 2 are just where it fell for me. Top 2 we're at, I believe. And now number 2, we have a story that just does not get enough love and probably never will. The Invasion of the Dinosaurs. Okay, once again, Malcolm shows how genius he is as a writer. He can do a 6-parter, and the story is very good. The idea of people wanting to bring the world back to a golden age before the pollution, before all technology and all that. So they create time eddies where they displace creatures. I mean, first you do see a human in there, but who was misplaced. But usually it's dinosaurs. And I know some people they're like, oh, the dinosaurs not that good of animation. Or special effects. You know what? I don't care. To me, it adds to the charm. Invasion of the Dinosaurs. Doctor is wonderful. Brigadier is wonderful. I love the entire story from beginning to end. Sarah Jane Smith is just spellbindingly good as well. It is a perfect story. I'm sticking to it. And now we get down to our number 1. Okay, this is one of the greatest stories for me in the history of Doctor Who. It was co-written. Malcolm co-wrote it with Terrance Dicks. And that is none other than The War Games. Oh my God. The second Doctor's last story, The War Games. Alright, oh my God, Jesus. The second Doctor, what a way to end him. Jamie, Zoe, great way to end them as well. With all of this happening and all these war games, different wars we're seeing happening, and turns out there's a mist, but there's something else going on, a deeper conspiracy going on here. Their pacing just keeps going, and as well as where it ends with the Doctor being on trial. And he loses. And now he's forced to change his face. And they change it pretty much for him. And that is the story of the War Games, one of the most epic ways for a Doctor to end. I'm so happy. So happy. The story is completely intact. I'm just not happy. It's just impossible to afford. Unless you want to spend a lot of money. Which I do not want to spend a lot of money on a DVD. That's just me. But the War Games is just... it's incredible. It's just incredible, incredible storytelling. Enough cannot be said for this story. If you have not seen The War Games, go and see it. It just is some of television at its absolute best. And that's my list of my ranking of all of Malcolm Hulke's stories. What's your favorite Malcolm Hulke story? Do you have a favorite Malcolm Hulke story? If you do, let me know down below. And guys, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for just by doing this video, you appreciate the genius of Malcolm Hulke. And for that, you're awesome. Bye, guys.